Hello, everyone. Craig Stage, Superintendent of the Athens Area School District, and we're going to have another conversation with some building principals. With me, I have David Gabriel, who is the Assistant Principal at the high school, and I have Mr. Corey Moser, who is the Principal of Student Affairs at the Harlan Row Middle School. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining me today.
No problem.
Hi, everybody. Good morning, Mr. Stage.
Good morning. So the conversation topic, we've been thinking about what we want to talk about, and I think one of the things we want to talk about is, what approach do we take to school and behaviors? And it kind of takes me back to a conversation that I have with my boys about school being their job, because it is an environment where they have to produce, and the outcome is their academic success. In those environments, though, we know kids are young, they're learning, they're developing social skills, and sometimes we have some things that we need to address in terms of behaviors or discipline. And we just want to talk about that with all of you, and maybe ask for your partnership as we look to continually move our kids forward. Let me start with Mr. Moser. Mr. Moser, at the middle school, what are some of the things that you see in the classroom environment that may be distracting from everyone trying to learn? And is there anything that you have in place that you're working on to kind of work through that?
Yeah, actually, we have a lot of things that we're working on. I think as we kind of analyze our school environment, it's easy for us as educators and principals to say, learning's your top priority and that's what you're supposed to do, and you're supposed to do that right now. But what we had to learn is there's so many other factors in every kid's lives that come into school that affect their ability to learn and communicate. A lot of it has to do with the environment at home versus the environment at school. And not that one environment is better over the other, it's just that when they walk into our building and our doors, we're looking for them to make learning a priority. And what we found is a lot of the issues that we face, especially at the middle school level and probably the high school level, is the ability of students to interact with each other, with their peers, and with the staff and with the teachers, and how to appropriately respond when they're being asked to do something, whether that might be schoolwork, it might just be redirected to do something different with their behavior. And I think a lot of times we're just not on the same page and as far as what the expectation is, and sometimes kids lash out for various reasons. It might be social emotional, where they respond inappropriately in that moment because they're not used to having constructive criticism or feedback. And then what response do they give? Or what happens if they're not liking what they're being asked to do? How do they handle that conflict?
Right.
So a lot of the things that we've done focus on appropriate interpersonal skills and interactions. I know as a building this year we implemented something called the First Five. And in the First Five, we're really focusing in on positivity. So how do we help our environment and impact our culture and climate in a positive way? How do we spread kindness? How do we appropriately interact? And how do we build a community in which we all love and care about? And then how do we police each other? So that way it's a whole community. It's kids and adults working together to provide a fun and safe learning environment. And then when we do have conflict, it's about teaching everyone how to handle and communicate that conflict without attacking someone or saying something negative or trying to put somebody down. It's more about talking together to find out what the actual root cause of the problem is, and then we'll put kids in the same room and do some conflict mediation.
That's excellent.
And talk to them. What is your feeling? Why does this make you angry? What resolution do you see?
I think that's important. I think one of the things that we try to prepare our students for is to be adults, and being able to work constructively through conflict is important. So I've seen the positive results of the First Five. Mr. Gabriel, I think you probably deal with some similar issues at the high school, but there's also an added element. We were talking beforehand about social media, and how does that impact all of this that we're trying to accomplish in the learning environment?
Well, you're right, and to piggyback off a little bit with what Mr. Moser has said, the social media is a tough. It's tough to swallow. It's tough to deal with at the high school because every kid has a cell phone these days. They have them to contact kids or their parents. They have them to keep in touch with their coaches, scheduling wise. and they don't use it the correct way. So we do see a lot of behind the scenes keyboard warriors of kids, obviously, having conversations with students to try and rectify problems that they have. We at the high school have also done things like Mr. Mosier has mentioned about bringing kids into the same room to mediate a situation, to find out what the reason is that the kids are behaving the way they are, what conflict they're having, and provide the necessary safety nets to help support them.
Yeah, having a cell phone is a topic of our last conversation, and social media. So I'm glad you kind of brought that back around. But at the high school, are there other things that you really want to bring up that we're really trying to look at the welfare of our students? And you're seeing some issues at the high school.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the bigger things we see at the high school is vaping. We have a lot of kids in our district that think that vaping is a safer, supplement to actually smoking. I deal with it all the time. I've done a lot of research on the effects of vaping. While a cigarette contains roughly 7,000 chemicals in it, they think that vaping, because there's no smoke in it, it's safer. The reality of that is there's actually 2,000 chemicals in a vaping device, and most of those are unknown. The biggest problem with vaping is it's very discreet. It changes what they breathe in into an aerosol, which is, most people think it's a water vapor of some sort, but it's an aerosol. And it's fruity. It tastes good to them, but the real problem is it's isolating the nicotine from all those chemicals and making it the most potent thing in there, which nicotine is illegal for kids to have until they're 21 years old.
Yep.
So it really grabs a hold of them.
Well, and we talk about trying to establish healthy habits. The healthy habits we try to establish help them become more productive students, hopefully more productive citizens. And while we have rules and policies in place that prevent those things, they still happen. I think at the end of the day, I would encourage parents to make sure that they are checking in with their kids, make sure that they're checking to see if they are vaping, and if they're having difficult conversations at school as they learn to grow and develop their coping skills, to trust their conversation, but verify it before you take a side. And our administrators are always willing to have those conversations, and the chain of command would probably start with the teacher if it happens in a classroom, or you can come to one of our building principals for that conversation. Is there anything else you guys wanted to add before we try not to make this the longest video ever?
I just like to put in that we do have, we have a very healthy environment in which we try to educate the kids. When they do, unfortunately, get caught with vaping, we have a kind of a restructuring program that we have the kids go through to learn the effects of vaping, and to provide them with the education that they need to realize that this is not a good path for them, and to try and break that hold that the nicotine has on them and the vaping has on them.
Sure.
So
Thank you. Mr. Moser, anything to add on the way out?
A little bit. One of the most important things we can do is partner with home. Home and school have to work together, and that's what will provide the most successful environment for our students and for you at home too. And yes, kids are curious. They try things. Sometimes they mess up, and our job isn't to punish. It's to help correct and redefine that behavior and educate them behind maybe the reasons why they're making bad choices. So at home, one of the things you can do is, have conversations with your kids. Listen to what they're saying. And you know what? We all have our own kids. None of them are perfect angels. It's okay to check their drawer, look in their phone, see what they're up to, so you can have those real conversations with them.
Absolutely. Our effort is to educate our community on what's going on in our school district. We would be foolish not to recognize the challenges we face. I personally absolutely love what we are doing as a school community. I'm very proud of what we're doing. And these conversations are about trying to make our district better as we continue to grow. So thank you for your time, and as always, go Wildcats.